What's going on, guys? Richard Rozza with the Personal Development Channel. Today is a guest episode. I was lucky enough to spend some time with the wonderful Arica Angelo. If you don't know who Arica is, stay tuned because you will want to know. I am very excited about today's guest, everyone. I have been following her for a while on YouTube, and no, I'm not a stalker. But today I have the honor of having her on our show. This stunning lady is a dating and relationship expert with 12 years in the field. She helps people find love. A lot of work is with singles, especially men. That does not mean you ladies need to shy away from this. You might even find some interesting tips here today. She's obsessed with love, has a huge following on YouTube, and has helped thousands of men and couples across the world. And very recently was rated in the top 10 from Yahoo Finance as one of the top 10 relationship coaches transforming lives in 2020. I welcome the beautiful and vivacious Arica Angelo. What I'd like to do first is just find out a little bit about yourself. I've done a little bit of research and I can see you've had quite an exciting journey. Look, correct me if I'm wrong, but you started in the States.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your parents were ministers.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. You've gone from being in the States, and I think you traveled to a few different places in the States. You moved to a few different places. You're in real estate for a little while.
Yeah. Oh, wow. You have done your research.
Yeah, of course. I have to. Wow. And now you're obviously in Bali. Now, I think there's been other places as well. I think France was on the list. You stayed in France as well. Tell us how you got to being, with your parents being ministers in the US to now being in Bali and being on this journey of being a dating and relationship expert.
Yeah, I think it was my background with my folks being ministers out in Texas, is where I'm originally from. And my parents always we were put in church the day I came out of my mom's womb. And that was really important. But what was really important to my parents, which is something that I think just being around them, it instilled it into me, was this heart to serve people. And so they eventually became ministers. And so the funny thing was, and it's kind of it was a precursor, though I had no idea back then that this would be the work that I'd be doing, was people would call my parents home, and in those circles, instead of reaching out to a therapist, people would reach out to their pastors for relationship guidance. And so I would say, well, my parents aren't here right now, but if you would like to talk to me, mind you, I'm probably 16, 17. If you'd like to talk to me, I'd be happy to listen to you. And, the honest to God truth is, I remember my dad pushing me every weekend on a Saturday to sit down and read my Bible. And there's this book called the Book of Proverbs. And I saw it said that wisdom goes out crying in the street saying, anyone who asks of me, I will give you my fruit, something along this line. And I was like, at 9 years old, it just clicked. And I was like, I cry out for wisdom. I cry out for wisdom. Yeah. And I think that was a really pivotal point in my life, was because I was so open to that. I feel like I actually got this gift of wisdom. And so here I'd be 16, 17 years old talking to people about their relationships, and I would just get insight and downloads for them. They would call my parents, they would call my mom, and they would say, we just spoke to your daughter, and you would not believe the wisdom that came out of this girl's mouth. She actually gave us solutions on what to do in our marriage.
And you're 16.
And I'm 16 at the time. And so it was just wild. And then, I got married super young.
Yeah.
And got married at 18. And then my ex-husband and I were youth ministers at my parents' church. So we started working with troubled youth. And I just had this heart posture to serve. And so then I, got divorced, kind of, just did the party scene and started dating my face off. And my real estate partner, he said to me, this was after I had lived in Columbus, Ohio. I left Texas to get away from everyone because of my divorce and religious upbringing. It's you don't divorce. And I was like, well, I do. And so I got away from that. I partied, I dated every night. It was the best time of my life. And my real estate partner, a couple years later, I moved to Los Angeles to be an actress, singer. And he said, Arica, I think you need to start giving dating advice. And I said, what? And he said, Arica, I watched your journey, and there was something that you did with your dating life that I've not seen anyone else do. He said, all your girlfriends struggle with dating. You're doing something different. Why don't you tell people what you're doing? And I think it was that combination of something that I really enjoy, which is just people. I've always enjoyed people, which is why I think my dating life was so amazing, was because I was just sincerely interested in the person who sat in front of me. That on top of what my parents instilled in me of just having this heart posture to see people healed and whole and restored and doing life victoriously. I think those two worlds just kind of emerged together. And then this whole journey of becoming a dating and relationship expert was birthed. And now like I've had different companies, try to get me into reality shows, and it's just the YouTube channel, and I've written books, and it's just kind of exploded. And I feel really blessed, Richard, because I'm like, sometimes it's not everyone that can say, I found my life's calling, I found my purpose. That this really is my purpose. When I see someone hurting and they can't find love, or their relationship is falling apart, if I'm out to dinner and I see a couple eating and I can tell that there's conflict there, like everything inside of me wants to sit down at that table and say, look, husband, your wife is not feeling seen by you right now. You've overlooked her, and I'm going to tell you how to see her. And look, you keep nagging him when all you want is his affection and adoration. So tell him that and quit hiding behind the nagging. I just want to get in there every time, because I want people to be in that harmonious place where they're actually just enjoying love for a change.
Wow. Okay, I love it. I love it. It's such a but I mean, no one wakes up, do they, and thinks, right, okay, or thinks when they wake up or they get older and think, right, okay, I want to be a dating relationship expert. It's not one of them, I do learning and development. That's what I've been doing as a career. I didn't wake up and want to do that. Kind of just fell into it. But what is interesting is your parents were ministers, and I mean, from what you said, that's probably what shaped the way that you thought about helping people, isn't it?
It is. We didn't have the perfect family. And to be honest, I think that's where a lot of what I learned was trying to heal myself of, kind of a rocky upbringing with my folks, and then going through a divorce. I think I intuitively knew, if I don't heal what's going on inside of me, if I don't correct these patterns that I've learned from my parents that I'm implementing in my life, if I don't heal this from the inside, my life is going to be screwed. I'm going to be effed.
Yeah.
And so I went on my own journey of going like, what are those answers, and kind of like coming up with my own formulas of like how I went on a journey of healing and restoring myself, and giving that out to my clients now. But I tell you what, it's been a long road, because the woman you see today, when I was 16, 17, 18, like, oh my gosh, I was just consumed with rejection and an insecurity. And I think a lot of what drives me is because I grew up with a lot of pain, and I know what it feels like, the agony, the torture, I just want to run away. I just want to distract. I don't want to feel this anymore. I lived through that for so long. And when I see people going through that, because I can physically feel that, I want them to be free. I want them to get a new way of redeeming those parts of themselves, so that they can be what I blossomed into, is very strong, confident, bold, powerful, someone who like finally loves herself. But man, that was not always the case.
Yeah, I read some of that about, you had to battle through some insecurities when you were younger. It was something I was going to ask you about, just for anybody that's listening, especially for the ladies. There's young girls out there that are feeling insecure. I mean, obviously, there's all different reasons for feeling insecure, but what sort of advice would you give to anyone that's listening?
Yeah, you know what? You're in your moldable stages right now. Like this is the beginning of your journey. What I used to do is I would watch movies, and I would see beautiful women in movies, and I would just, like, that desire would just ignite like this little fire inside of me. And I'd go, I want to become that woman one day. And if I could now, powerful Arica at 40 years old, who still looks damn good for her age, and who's living the dream life in Bali and changing people's lives for a profession. This woman right now, if I could go back to that little girl who was so afraid and terrified and just thought the world was against her. I said, baby girl, this is just the beginning of your journey. You are about to discover so many aspects of yourself that are buried on the inside. Be patient with yourself, and damn it, love yourself. Find those things about you that you love and focus on that. Don't worry about the other shit. That other shit, you'll figure out ways to heal and mold and all that. Focus on what is beautiful and valuable about you. What makes you unique? What makes you stand out more than anyone else? Baby doll, focus on that, because the rest of it's a journey. You're just at the starting line and you're judging yourself by the finish line. Look at where you are, honor where you are, and be patient with yourself, because baby girl, one day you're going to become a badass. So just love yourself right now. If I could go back and tell her that and go, girl, I got you. We're going to become awesome one day. But love yourself today. If I had saved so much of my time not giving into self-hatred. You know, I even struggled with suicide. There were so many times that I wanted to take my life so many times. I'd take pills. I'd try to like cut my wrist. It was dark. Like, I'm not just saying this as like some pep talk. It was really dark. I really wanted to get out of life. Listen, you don't commit 12 years of your life to this business and changing people unless you really identify with the pain that you came from. You don't hang, if this is just something just to have fun with, you do it for 5 years and you quit. But 12 years and you stick with it, you understand pain because it's been your demon that you've fought through. And so when I say to young girls, or if I'm speaking to men, I'm like, I actually feel and understand your pain. And I'm telling you, there is a brighter day that's coming. I promise you, if you don't give up, if you commit to yourself, screw what everybody else says. If you commit to yourself and listen to your heart and go on a journey of discovering what's inside of you, what matters to you, what makes you come alive, what changes do you want to create in this world, get in tune with that, awaken to that, and pay attention to that, because everyone else is always going to have an opinion. In fact, you know, if I listened to everybody else's advice for me, I'd still be in Texas. I'd be married to some guy, miserable. But I chose to say, I believe, I took a risk. I always say I have played, my life has been like living in Vegas. Like I gamble with my life. I'm constantly taking risks. And there's this brilliant author, and her name is, damn it, I'm going to forget her name. She wrote this book called Untamed. Glenn Doyleson, I think is her name.
Glenn Doyleson.
And, it's called Untamed. It's a powerful book for women. And she said this: the more risk I take, the luckier I get. And so if you see my life today, you look at my life and you would say, that girl's really lucky. And I want to say, do you know how many risks I have taken? Where I've defied the odds, where I've defied my parents, I've defied the culture and community that I came from. I defied over and over again. I left LA when everyone's like, you should stay here and build a career. And I was like, nah, not going to do that. And I constantly followed that inner voice on the inside, despite how terrified I was. I kept following that. I kept taking that chance. And it came with a cost. It wasn't always easy. Like it got me in some real pickles. But today, like if someone would have said, Arica, one day you're going to be a powerful, beautiful woman, changing people's lives from a tropical island, I would have said, quit bullshitting me. Don't you bullshit. Don't play with me like that. Life is so painful. Don't blow sunshine up my ass. But that's my life today. That's my life today.
It's when you talk about the bit, I'm just going to go back to the beginning of what you mentioned a minute ago as well. When you said you were a little girl and you would watch a movie and you would see somebody, there's a few things that you said there that's interesting. I've been looking at, I've just written an episode about comparing yourself to others. And is that something that, I suppose, as a child or even now, is a problem that you find with the people that you see?
Absolutely.
They compare themselves to others and then they get insecurities from that.
Absolutely. I mean, we see it going rampant, right? With social media.
Yeah, social media is the worst thing for it at the minute.
People are posting the best moments of their lives and then they're comparing their lives to that. And it's just not reality. It's like I hope this isn't too explicit, but it's like judging your sex life to porn. It's not real.
Yeah.
It's not freaking real. They're being paid. It's the same thing with social media. It's the best moments of that person's life.
Yeah, the highlight reel. That's what I've called.
Highlight reel.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is what I want to say about that. When I looked at women in the movies, those were women that I cast vision to. My parents will be so proud because I'm about to quote the Bible. But the Bible does say, without vision, people perish. You have to have vision for yourself. It's okay to find someone to aspire to and say, that is my vision. That is who I'm going to become. But when it becomes dark and we start saying that person is better than me, that's dangerous territory. That person can never compare to you because there will never be another you. You are cut one. You're not a cookie cutter. You're one of a kind. And to try to compare yourself to someone else is an absolute injustice, an absolute waste of time, an absolute abomination.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah. I like the cookie cutter.
They can't compare to you. There will never be another. You are one of a kind. No one could ever compare to you. Do you know how many dating coaches there are in the market right now? So many. But guess what? None of them can compare to me. Why? Because I've got my own voice. I got my own style. I got my own story. I've got my own pains. I got my own wins. And so every single one of these coaches are valuable because they identify with someone out there who has a similar story, who needs to hear the message through their voice and their voice alone.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. This is what a lot of it was about, the social media piece I was looking at. It's and that is what you're absolutely right. Sorry. It is about you're seeing the best parts of their life that they're showing a lot of the time. And it's unfortunate. But yeah, it's just, having people like yourself around to help people with that, and coaches and people spreading positivity, does make a difference. But also it's also about reality, isn't it? I think the positivity thing is great, but it also has to be real.
Listen, I've done a course on vulnerability. My dad, I did get this from my dad about being vulnerable and being real, because my dad hates pretension. And so he instilled that into me. But I think more than ever, listen, I'm all about showing your best side, because I mean, at the end of the day, I believe that, we're made in God's image and we should shine brightly and we should celebrate ourselves. And we have a core need as human beings to be seen. We have a core need to be witnessed, to be validated, to be celebrated. I'm all for posting the beautiful images, your winning moments on social media. But in the same token, we also have to express our vulnerability and say, this is shit.
Yeah.
I am walking through this. I'm going to overcome this. Or I'm in a pickle right now and I could really use some love and support. There has to be both. Because if we're just showing our highlight reel, then we're putting ourselves on a pedestal that no one can reach, and it actually doesn't help anyone. It actually hurts people. So we have to do both. We have to be vulnerable. I had a girlfriend. She reached out to me, and I had gone through a breakup with the love of my life. And she saw me posting some stories in France when I was living in France. Yeah. And she said, girl, I have to be honest, I'm a bit jealous because I'm here with my family, I'm raising my children, I've got a husband, we have our challenges, and you're just free doing whatever you want. And I said, I'm gonna stop you right there. And I said, what you don't see on Instagram are the days when I can't stand up because I can't breathe because I'm holding on to the wall. Yeah. Because my breakup hurts me so bad. Mm-hmm. And I said, don't compare your life to my Photoshop moments, to my filtered moments, to my preset moments. It's just not real. There's also, yes, I have tons of freedom, but there's also pain there too.
Yeah, of course.
So don't compare to that, babe. It's not fair.
Yeah. Yeah. There's always pain, isn't there, behind someone? You just don't always see it. You don't see it. And some people are better at hiding it than others. And
you British people are really good at hiding it. I've dated some British men in my past, and I'm like, boy, the Brits, they are really good at disguising those emotions to their own.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that. Not all of us, but yeah.
No, not all.
But yeah, it does happen.
Yeah.
It's almost like a hero complex. I want to be a hero. No,
Yeah.
that's kind of that complex. But so, let's talk a little bit about what you specialize in then. And get to some of the nitty gritty. Maybe I had a quick look to see. This was just a pure Google, so it wasn't any like real deep research.
Okay.
But it was, what are some of the top things that some of the guys that might struggle with in relationships and dating? So look, to be fair, you've created a lot of content around this anyway. So it's stuff that you'll probably be aware of, and you talk about often. So some of the things that this is mainly for the guys, probably listening.
Yeah.
So in regards to things like chat up lines, and what would be your advice to guys when approaching a lady? I know a lot of it comes down to confidence, which is obviously way further deeper than coming up with a good chat up line.
Yeah.
But what sort of advice would you have for a guy that likes somebody else and he wants to go over and speak to a lady, but maybe, well, there's two things here, isn't there? One, the confidence thing. If you're lacking confidence, you're probably not going to do it anyway. But if you do have that confidence to go over there, all that courage, and you're going to be brave, what's the best way to speak to a lady to start a chat up line?
So today I just coached a guy and he's an introvert. And I said, for him, someone who's an introvert, they're not going to walk up to a woman and say, listen, I just saw you across the room. You're absolutely stunning. You took my breath away. I had to come over and say hello. He's not going to do that. That's not for him. That's for the guy who has a gift of gab and just doesn't give a shit and is going to say what he wants. Like for that guy, that's going to work. Like there's a brilliant guy that I just adore. His name is Perrion. He says, beauty needs a witness.
I've seen your, the video of him. Yeah. I'd never heard of him before, but until I saw your YouTube video.
I love this guy. And he says this, he says, beauty needs a witness. And that's why it will never, ever, it's worked for years. It will continue to work as when a man witnesses a woman's beauty and is able to speak to that and say, you look stunning in that dress. You took my breath away when you walked in the door. You know, just being very honest about what he sees and expressing that. Like that's huge. And a woman, when it's sincere, a woman feels it. When she feels it, watch her. She responds. She lights up. She gets shy. There's a reaction there. So if you're that guy who can say those things, then what you sincerely feel about that woman when she walked in the door, express that to her, say it to her, because most people are not going to do that. But for my shy introverts, like my client today, I said, you know, introverts are great because you guys spend a lot of time doing observations. You're constantly out observing. And I said, create a question out of your observation. So if she's standing there holding a drink, you can, and you've been watching her, say, listen, I saw you holding that drink. It looks like your favorite drink. What are you having? Or do you come here often? Like, is this one of your favorite spots? No, it's not my favorite spot. Okay. Oh, what's your favorite spot? Where do you like to go? Build upon your observations, ask questions, create conversation out of what you've been observing. Yeah. So that's what I would say to my introverted guys. And then, you know, it's really, it's just, when we talk about confidence and courage, it's always a risk. Even for the most confident guy, it's still scary to go up and tell someone what they want to say to them, like that. I like you. I like you. You're attractive. Yeah. It's always scary, whether you're a guy or a girl. Girls do it too to men now.
Yeah, of course.
It's scary for anybody, but you always have to take the risk because you never know unless you try. And I promise you this, when I coach men, you're going to feel far worse about not doing it than if you did it and she says no. You'll actually feel worse about not doing it because you don't feel like you're a man. Yeah. And you didn't go after what you wanted and you didn't give yourself a chance. So I would say push past the veil and take the risk. Yeah. And just do it afraid. Do it anyways. Because she's not going to kill you. I mean, she's not going to like take out a dagger and like pierce your heart. It's not going to go down like that.
If it does, then you're very unlucky. Yeah.
Yeah, you're very unlucky. But it may feel that way. It may feel that extreme. But the reality is that's not what's going to happen.
Yeah. Okay, good. I like this advice. It's good. So for those listening, then there's first bit of advice from Arica. So the next one, I'm just going to go through some of the top ones, and then I was just interested to see what you'd say about some of these. Okay. Kissing on the first date. Here we go. It's the next one on the list.
Oh, come on.
This is all the top shit that comes up on Google.
I know. It drives me crazy. I'm like, Since when did we start needing permission to like kiss each other? If you feel it, do it. And
Yeah.
guess what? We're all responsible adults. Like if she doesn't want to be kissed, guess what? She can go, too soon. Like she has every right to use her voice for herself because she's an adult. She's a woman.
Mm-hmm.
She has a voice. She gets to use it. But you as a man, like you're a pursuer. Like if that inclination is there and you're like, golly, like her lips are so beautiful and the connection is so strong. I have to kiss this woman and take the hands and reach behind her neck and just pull her in and go for it. But if you're just kissing her because it's like, well, this is the right thing to do, she's going to feel that energy. Like your
Mm-hmm.
energy always goes before you. So if the energy is not there, if there's no connection there and you're just forcing it because it's the right thing to do, well, that's just awkward.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Okay.
if you feel it, then why not act upon it? I mean, that's all why we're going on these dates. It's not to follow some rule book. We're going on this date to follow our hearts, to follow chemistry. We just overanalyze it that we disconnect from what's actually going on inside. And that's where relationships are birthed on what's going on inside, not because of this analytical process that we've ran it through. No, it's feelings, it's connection, it's chemistry,
Yeah.
it's serendipity, it's the magic. But we're getting so caught up in our heads that we're losing sight of the magic and we're missing out on so many beautiful moments because we're overanalyzing.
Yeah. It's when you mentioned about the enjoying dating. I remember when I was dating, I used to enjoy dating. I was one of the ones that I wasn't worried about it or scared about it. I actually enjoyed the moment, whether it was going to work out or not. I just kind of enjoyed the moment I was in.
Yeah.
And then it kind of, it would go either one way or the other.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's the way it goes. But enjoy the moment you're in. So what about when you've mentioned about when you're speaking to your clients, what are the links? Because I've googled some shit. Yeah, they're the things that have come up. But what about what are some of the top things that guys come over to you and ask and need help with the most?
Well, I get a lot of sex questions.
Okay, all right.
I cover.
What sort of sex questions?
I think the Me Too movement really terrified a lot of men. Sincerely, not just like being funny, but it really terrified a lot of guys.
Sorry, the what movement? The
Me Too movement.
Me Too.
Yeah, it was huge in the States, and then it kind of went viral. It's like women who were standing up for themselves who had been sexually violated,
Right.
and
Okay.
they were standing up and saying like, "Me too, this has happened to me too."
Oh,
And
okay.
so in the process, some of it was very healthy and beautiful, and then
Mm.
some of it became man shaming, and a man's damned if he does and damned if he doesn't. So a lot of guys, one of the things is they want to know like how to create like sexual tension, how to get that chemistry going, because as I said before, we've overanalyzed things so much, so it's like that chemistry that should come natural to us,
Mm-hmm.
we're second guessing ourselves so much that it's not natural anymore. So now we have to like overanalyze it. And so men will come to me and say like, how do I escalate things sexually? How do I get her going? Because I always say, she wants to have sex with you just as much as you want to have sex with her. I feel like we've progressed where it's just like, I grew up with, oh, boys just want your cookies. And I'm like, and I want their box. So like, what's the problem? Like, we both want the same thing. But it was always like, men want this, but women don't. And I was like, well, that's a load of bollocks. That's not the truth. Like, women want sex just as much as men. Like, that's such a joke. So we both want it. So what's happening? And it's like, I always tell men, I say, most of the time you haven't established a connection with a woman. You're looking at the semantics of what you can do, as opposed to if you would focus on connection and creating safety with her, she'd be more inclined to want to share her body with you. Obviously you need to touch her and create that physical aspect of it as well.
Yeah.
But so many guys, they get caught up on like the semantics and like, well,
Right.
Should I kiss this time? When should I touch her? And I'm like, once again, follow what you feel, get out of your head, get into your body, breathe a little bit, know what your body wants, and take a risk and act out on that.
Mm.
So I get lots of sex advice. I actually do get guys who come to me over breakups.
Okay.
Guys, it breaks my heart when it gets to this, but guys who either ignored their wives for too long and she's filed divorce papers and they're like, oh, I want to like get coaching around this. I'm like, could you have done that before she filed the paperwork? maybe like help me out here. But I know I've been able to help put some marriages back together,
Wow,
which
that's
I
amazing.
really love. That's like it. When I see like two people come back together, it's a lot of work, but man, it's beautiful when it happens.
Yeah.
Or guys who have just really effed up because they're hurt, and so one woman is never enough, so they get in a relationship, and then there's infidelity,
Right.
and they're like, I screwed up. Now after I cheated on her, now I realize she's my whole world.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I get called into those situations.
Okay.
To help bring
What
some resolve there.
what sort of advice do you give to when that happens? Because that's obviously something that's happens a lot.
Infidelity, yeah. So for me, it's always like teaching a man what makes a woman feel safe, because ultimately her trust has been violated. You've betrayed her in the holy of holies, which is her heart. And so when you've betrayed that, you have to approach it from that. It's no longer about the woman, it's about her heart and you breaking her heart. And so what can you do to start establishing a safe place? And the first thing is communication. It's taking full responsibility for what you did and the impact that it made on her. Not just saying, I'm sorry, I cheated on you. No. It's not just the cheating, it's the ramifications that come after the cheating. What did it do to her heart in the process?
Yeah.
And creating an open container for her to say, you did this, you did that. And she may need that container for 2 months. And guess what? You signed up for that when you slipped your D into the other girl's pee. So you've signed up for purgatory, my man. So here we go.
Mm-hmm.
But it's sometimes these guys have these awakenings during that, and they go, wow, I really do love this woman. And so at that point, they're willing to do whatever it takes. And it's that kind of posture when a man has that kind of commitment to a woman. Listen, at the end of the day, a woman has invested just as much, if not more, because society has given women more permission to be relational, whereas men have been shamed to be relational. So you're gay, you're a PUSSY if you're relational as a man. Whereas women, we were always like championed to do that. So women are more inclined to fight for it, but she's not going to give that to you. She's not going to say, well, secretly, I want this to work out. Hell no, she's not going to tell you that. She wants her heart vindicated first and foremost. And that takes time. Mm-hmm. And so it takes a man getting humble with himself and saying like, hey, I've obviously got something broken with me. And I tell you what, every time I work with my clients, every time it goes without fail. If they really have an open heart and if they let me get in and do the work with them,
yeah,
it always goes back to mom and dad. Always. And it's not like rocket science. It's the fact that mom and dad were our first encounters with love. And the majority of us, those encounters were not healthy. They were not loving. They were not safe. They actually hurt us. And so that's our first encounter with love. And then that's our foundation. And then we go building our lives off of a very broken foundation, a very weak foundation that's not solid. Yeah. And so most of the time I can go back and I can go, this is what happened with mom and dad. This is the story that you created, and you are now building your life out of that story. And then it just becomes cycles. And the thing is, most people were oblivious to this stuff. We don't even see our stories. We don't see our cycles, which is why hiring a coach is so powerful and imperative, because we can take the outside perspective. We work with people in this regards. I work with people in this regards all the time. So for me, it's easier for me to pinpoint in the situation because I'm not the one in pain. You are. So I, being outside, can be a little bit more objective. And then if I can hear a person's story, most of the time that gift of wisdom that I cried out for when I was 9 years old comes in and supports me. And I can go, babe, could it be that maybe when dad left mom, could it be that maybe you made a commitment inside of yourself that you would never let anyone leave you again? And so you always leave people or you break things before they break you. Then the tears come and then the healing begins. And if a guy can give me access to his heart in that way, most of the time the relationship can be saved. Because like I said, that woman really wants to fight for the relationship, but not if the guy's going to be half-assed about it. Yeah. Why would she do that? She'd be crazy.
Yeah. Well, it fits in with phobias. A lot of phobias that people have, they all come from or stem from a point when you were a baby or, a child at a very young age. And it kind of almost fits in with what you've just said there about, a lot of the people that you've seen, majority of the time, it all kind of stems back from their upbringing and their parents. Yeah. It's quite interesting. So in regards to, because I know you help, a lot of the stuff that you do is with men.
Yeah.
But do you help any women as well? I know you've mentioned some of the breakups and bit.
Yeah, my books that I actually wrote were geared for women. So one's called
Yeah.
Dating with a Point, and the other one's called Strutting Your Way Through a Broken Heart. And that's essentially where I started my journey. It was kind of a little blog that no longer exists. It was called Bella Gab. I don't even own the site.
Bella Gab.
Bella Gab. Because everyone, like I'd go to Italy and people would say, Ciao Bella.
Bella.
So Bella, and then get the Gab. And so it was kind of like this Sex and the City style, and I loved it. But then, I had a lot of men. I don't know how they found the website. It wasn't like I was marketing it or anything, but men started writing in, and I realized that there was a deeper root going on with men, and they were so adamant to get healing, and so I kind of changed my market over. But yeah, I've absolutely supported women.
Okay.
I love loving on women. Like, women, it's like, for women, their biggest challenge is seeing their beauty. There's this brilliant author.
Okay, so they've got the confidence thing as well.
For sure. So I have this brilliant author that I completely am obsessed with. He changed my life. His name is John Eldridge, and he says that a woman has 3 questions in her life. She says, do you see me? Am I pretty? And do I have a beauty that is all my own? And he says, every woman walks into a room and she looks around and she says, am I the most beautiful woman in this room? She wants that special, unique beauty. It's like, baby, you have this and nobody else has this.
Yeah.
For a man, he has one question. And he says that a man's question is this: do I have what it takes? Do I have what it takes? Do I have what it takes to build a successful career? So when a man loses his wife, he loses his children. Like I get men who have gone through divorces, and like building those men up, it's like some elbow grease there. Why? Because it's hurt him at the core of his wound, which was he believes I don't have what it takes. I couldn't make my marriage work. I couldn't make my family work. I am a failure. When a man walks out on her, what's the first thing she thinks? I wasn't pretty enough.
Yeah.
I wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
And so those core questions, like, they really need validation. And if they've been broken, then there needs to be healing administered to those areas.
With the where you mentioned about the ladies or the women that have most of the time suffer from insecurities or the lack of confidence about themselves.
Yeah.
What sort of things would you do with somebody? What sort of tools could you give to somebody or share with somebody that help them?
One of the most powerful things I did in my own life, and I really champion women to do this, is I asked a handful of girlfriends, people and mid-range, like women my age, women older than me, women who have known me forever, women who just were getting to know me but really saw my heart. And I asked them, please write down the 10 things that you love the most about me. And I would say go to 5 girlfriends that you really trust, that really have your best interest, no like passive aggressiveness, like they actually wholeheartedly champion you. I would go to 5 of those women and say, can you just write the 10 things that you specifically love about me the most? Yeah. And you take that list and you take it as it is gospel, and read that list every day, because as you read it, it renews yourself, because you go, wow, I never saw myself through that lens. Most of who I am today is a lot of strength and tenacity on my end and taking risks. But the whole other side is I have been a fortunate woman that I have had mentors come into my life who have picked me out and said, this is who you are. You have greatness in you. You have beauty in you. You have a unique voice. And these women just poured love and admiration into me. And if it had not been for those women, I would not be where I am today. If it had not been for their love, support, and foresight into who I would become, I would not be where I am today.
Okay. All right. So it's almost a bit like the gratitude, kind of looking at, is that where you're going down that?
It is kind of gratitude, but it's sometimes like, because we get so bombarded with our own thoughts of what we're lacking and what we don't have, that we get really sideswiped into that, and we're like almost engulfed into it. Yeah. So when we're asking someone, give me a list, it's almost like, give me a lifeline and give me a new lens in which I can see myself. Okay. Give me a new opportunity to see myself potentially differently.
Yeah. So it's getting that, it's like 360 feedback, isn't it?
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, I hope like even if that could help one person that's listening, it would be amazing.
Absolutely.
So, one of the other bits that I think is quite interesting is, or a subject that I'd like your opinion on, is your expert opinion, flirting. What do you think about flirting, especially if you're in a relationship? Is flirting good, bad, absolutely no? What's your opinion on it?
Listen, that's not a one-cut answer. It really depends on the person's personality because, like, you know, for me, I'm a Leo.
Okay.
My man is my man.
Okay.
You have eyes for this girl. But you know, there are some people, they're just flirty in nature and their partners are okay with that. And they actually think it's like, it's cute and it's funny. It really depends on the partners. It really boils down to you having the courage to use your voice and saying, I'm okay with this, or I'm not okay with this. And really being honest with your partner and not holding that back. I think a lot of times, you know, I've watched women and men where one partner is flirtatious and you can just see it eating up the other partner. And it's like, why put yourself through that? Why don't you just sit down with your partner and say, this isn't fun for me. I really don't enjoy seeing you flirt like that. Well, I'm just being friendly. I'm sure, then be friendly with the blokes, but this is really hurting me.
Yeah. Okay. I like it. Yeah, I agree.
But the reality is, listen, we all like attention from the opposite sex. Like that just doesn't go away. Even when you're happy, the reality is, yeah, it feels good when somebody else sees you. Of course, it's back to what Zan says about beauty needing a witness. So if you're making sure you're affirming your partner and that partner is affirming themselves, like they value themselves, I think I want to say this too. It's all about the intention. Like, what's the posture behind it? If it's coming out of a place of a need, then that's effed up. Like, go sit yourself in a damn corner and figure out how to love yourself. Or tell your partner, like, hey, you're not seeing me and now I'm interested in other people. Like, if it's coming from a place of need and desperation, when anything comes from that, money, anything, when it comes from that type of energy, you're in trouble. But if it's coming from just like, I know myself, I'm just a flirty person, like, you know, I think that can be very harmless.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh, let's talk about egos.
Yeah.
Men with big egos. What's your thought on how, if you're a lady or a woman, and you want to approach a guy, but the guy comes across a bit egotistical, big-headed, what would be your approach? I'm trying to make this not just about the men, as you can tell.
That's easy. You just go and smash his ego.
How?
Absolutely. If you see a guy and he's cocky, and he's standing at the bar and he's cocky, you just walk up to him and go, well, good God, aren't we all so lucky to be in your presence? You just speak right into it. I'm all about like loving confrontation and just confront it dead on. Don't entertain it. Just speak right into it. Like, wow, you really are God's gift to us all. God, we are so lucky to be able to witness and behold you. Why not?
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
I've got some friends that I'd love to just hear somebody say that to as well. It'd be quite funny.
Oh, I love doing this to guys because I know men so well because, you know, it's what I do. But man, it's really it's fun when a guy has a big ego because, you know, most of the time ego is just there to protect us. So most of the guys with some of the biggest egos also have the biggest heart. So it's just like knocking off that shell and going, okay, yeah, whatever. Let's move beyond that. Who are you? What are you about?
Yeah.
What makes you come alive? What makes you tick? Why are you here tonight? What are you searching for?
Okay.
Cut to the chase.
But I think also the ego covers insecurities, doesn't it, as well, with a lot of guys.
I think with people, you know, I read this book about, it's called Complex Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder. It's talking about people with CPTSD, which is something that I've struggled with. And he says that there comes a time in life when a person has gone through a lot of trauma that an ego is actually healthy. I know everyone reads Eckhart Tolle's book and they're like, oh, the ego's this and it's that. We need to get rid of it. But this guy said, he actually disagrees. He says there's a healthy stage in our lives where we actually do need our ego to be able to survive, to be able to fend for ourselves, to defend ourselves. But then it crosses into, is your ego now serving you? Like once you get past surviving and you're able to feel capable as a human being, then you have to let that tool go and cultivate new tools. But I think we all deal with ego. You know, we most of us don't come from healthy homes. And so it's our way of surviving. But at some point you got to switch from surviving and going into thriving. And when you do that, then that's where you have to let your ego go, because ultimately it's going to circumvent what you really want, what's going on inside of your heart.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm going to put, what I'll do is I'll put all these these books that you've said in the description, because I think that if anyone that wants to read those, I will put the links in there. I'll have a look myself.
That would be great.
So what are your top 5 tips for, we're going to do this both ways. I'm trying to be fair to everybody.
Okay.
So what are your top 5 tips for a guy? Because we kind of covered some of this already from what you said.
Yeah.
What are your top 5 tips for a guy that likes a girl or woman, whatever, and they want to go over, they want to speak to them? What are the top 5 tips if they're scared?
Okay. Number 1 is, I always tell people, like, you have to breathe. And then I know that sounds so stupid and it sounds so basic, but when we breathe, we come back to our bodies. Most of the time, fear is being generated in our head and it's attached to emotion that's transpiring out of our body.
Right.
So we have to calm that down. Like it's very basic, but most people don't think to do that. It's simple, just coming back to yourself. Second, rationalizing it and telling yourself, look, either she's going to say yes or no. You got a 50-50 chance, right?
Yeah.
So it's being a bit rational about it, because when we're breathing, when we're rationalizing through it, it basically de-escalates the fear, because that's what's preventing you from going and talking to her ultimately, is fear.
Mm-hmm.
So breathe, talk through this, talk to yourself through it. Then 3, remind yourself of who you are. Like, listen, you're a badass. Like, she's going to be excited that you're coming over and talking to her, because she's been surrounded by all these goofballs all night. And you're a sincere guy who has a lot to give. Like, refresh her, like catch her off guard, like be excited that you could possibly bring a smile to this woman's face. And then 2, you have to walk over there. Like just make your feet start moving. I can't tell you how many guys that when this happens, their feet just quit working. And I'm like, you just look down at your feet and say, we are walking towards her right now. And then from there, I want you to ask yourself, what is the most sincere thing that I can say to this woman? Like, what was my first instinct of, like, why am I even here? What is it about her that is drawing me to her? Now, obviously you can't say anything crass, like, I just saw your tits. And I was like, oh my God, I had to come and speak to them. I mean, obviously there needs to be some level of common sense here, and that's not appropriate. But if it's something like you saw her smile and like she just lit up the whole room when she smiled, or you love the way she was making her girlfriends laugh, or the fact that she took the time to look so beautiful when everyone else is wearing jeans, like really be honest about why are you putting yourself through these 4 steps to get in front of her to do this 5th step? Like, what is it about her that brought you in? And remember, women want to know, do I have a beauty that's all my own? What is the beauty that made her stand out, and speak to that?
I like that. I like that last point about the sincere. What's the one sincere thing that you can say to her? I love that.
Absolutely.
So the same thing goes then for women. And look, we see it like you said at the beginning. Women go over. I think. I'm 35 years old, and I know it was normally the guys that would go. I mean, I'm not that old, but I'm old enough to kind of come from an era where it would be the guy that generally would have to go over and, make the first move.
Right.
But we've evolved since then, and a lot of ladies do go over and speak to guys. But if there's any girls listening and they think, there is somebody that I quite like, I just don't want to. I'm scared or worried about rejection. What advice do you have for them? I know we've talked about the fear piece, which is really what stops most of us if that's an issue, or the lack of confidence, or lack of feeling beautiful. What sort of things would you say to them?
So for a woman, I would say the first thing you do is walk over to a mirror, because most of the time you're going to say, he's talking to all these other girls. Who am I? Get in front of a damn mirror and remind yourself who you are. You know, it's like, listen, girl, come on, quit fooling yourself. You got a heart of gold and you're stunning. Get over there right now. He's probably been staring at you anyways. So just make it easy on the guy and go say hello. Like, have that self-talk with yourself in the mirror. Because every girl, I guarantee you, she's going to go to the mirror to make sure her lipstick's in place. She doesn't have lipstick on her teeth. There's no
Yeah.
eyeliner running down. Like, she's going to go to the mirror anyway.
Yeah.
Like, that's going to happen. So you're at that mirror. You might as well give yourself a pep talk while you're there. Remind yourself who you are. The second thing is, you know, the nice thing about having your girlfriends is they're always going to support you. Go tell your girlfriends, look, there's this guy over there that I'm really interested in, and I'm kind of chicking out. Like, your girlfriends are going to go, come on. They're going to champion you. They're going to cheerlead you. Whereas guys, it's a little bit different. If a guy went to his guys, like sometimes guys, some guys will help him out and push him. Some guys will just make fun of him and make it more of a disaster. But your girlfriends are always going to go and support you. The third thing is, don't get into the trap of self-comparison. Don't start looking around the room.
Right.
Don't see who else is there. That is quicksand. That is setting yourself up for failure. It is none of your business who else is in the room. What is your business is that the man in front of you, you're interested in him, and you owe it to yourself to go find out if there's an opportunity.
Yeah.
So quit looking at everyone else, because they're none of your damn business. Just don't do it. And the second thing, you know, for women, like, I feel like we have to be a little bit cute. So like ask yourself, like, what is it that I'm going to approach him with? Like, do you want to walk up with a drink for him? Do you want to like be bold like that? Do you want to walk up to him and say, what are you doing here tonight? Who said you could come out here? Do you want to tease him? Or do you just want to go for the gusto and just say, oh my God, I saw you, which is the way I like to approach it, is go up and say, oh my God, I have been watching you all night. You have to tell me who you are. Who, like, you're just too good looking. It's ridiculous. Who are you?
What's the response when you've said that? Sorry, that's another question.
I love this. They
yeah.
love it, because women never do that. They never do the ball.
Yeah.
They're like, I've never had a woman do this to me before. And I'm like, you're welcome. So yeah, find out like what your approach is going to be, like what resonates with you, what feels comfortable with you. And the last thing is, you have to go implement. You have to do it. Like talking yourself through all this, you have to just go and do that. But as a woman, like, men respond well to being touched by a woman. So when you say it, make sure that you touch his arm, make sure that you run your finger along his jacket, or even just like kind of like tease his little face and go, you do something that encourages touch, because touch is very disarming. I mean, for the majority, you have some people that hate touch, but for the majority, most people enjoy to be touched. It establishes connection. So make sure that when you implement it, that there's some form of touch involved. Grab his arm, do something.
Good. I like these. I like these little tips. I hope somebody takes away some of these.
I hope someone uses them.
Yeah, I do as well. If anyone does and they've got the balls to kind of tell us that they tried it, then leave some comments.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, guys. So we are coming to the end of today's episode with Arica Angelo. And before I kind of wrap things up, I thought it'd be nice, as we normally do, is have a challenge from the guest. And so I'm going to hand it over to Arica, who's got a challenge for those who wish to accept it. Over to you, Arica.
Yeah, listen, at the end of the day, I think that loneliness is one of the most, someone said that it's actually, we're at an all-time high of loneliness. People are feeling lonely in their marriages. We're just feeling lonely. And so my challenge to you is this: reach out to someone today and establish connection. Maybe it's a parent you haven't spoken to in a while. Maybe it's a sibling. Maybe it's your partner. When's the last time you told your partner, like, this is what I really value about you. This is how you impact my life. Reach out and connect with one person and let them know how they impact your life, because we all want to know that. I mean, most of us who are conscious people, we want to know, is my life making a difference? I want you to reach out and connect with one person and reassure them how they have impacted your life. I mean, we're hearing of so many suicides right now, but I bet
Yeah.
some of those people, if they just knew that their life mattered and that they were impacting someone, maybe it would have been the one thing that they needed. We don't know. But I'm saying in this time of loneliness and separation where people have been quarantined and forced to be isolated, how can you connect with someone today? Because what happens is when you give this gift, you actually receive as well, because sometimes they're inclined to speak it back to you. And maybe you need to hear it just as much as they do. So connect with someone and let them know how they've impacted your life, how much they mean to you, and what it is that you specifically value about them.
I love it. Yeah, it's a great challenge for people, and I couldn't agree more with some of the points that you've just said there, Arica. So anyone listening, go away and connect with somebody, as Arica has said. Let us know in the comments, or go over to our social media channels and just hashtag us that you've accepted the challenge and you've taken it upon yourself to do it. So Arica, where can people find you? And I think I know people can find you on social media as well, but also if you go into anyone that's listening that would like help, that'd like to go a little bit further, please.
Yeah. So my website is Arica, not with an E. I always have to say that. It's actually with an A. So it's Arica, Arica Angelo. So 2 A's in there, aricaangelo.com. Yeah, you can reach out to me for coaching there. And if you're just kind of like, I want to hear more of this girl because she's wild and crazy, or she said some things that really penetrated my heart, then go to my YouTube channel. That's always the best place to really get an idea of what my work really is all about.
Love it.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Arica. You've been amazing. Your massive smile and confidence, and you're funny on here. So yeah, I really enjoyed speaking to you. I hope that some of the things that you've said today resonate with people that have been listening, and they can take away some things that actually help them. And yeah, thank you so much. It's been amazing.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you for having me here. It's been an honor.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Arica.